small? Did you not see? Is your eyes closed? Are you blind? And then the other was saying, no, I'm not blind though. You saw it. You saw that space is closed. You should have waited for me to pass. But you see a very humble marriage when they both say, oh, I'm sorry. And that ends there, right? Sorry ends all arguments. If somebody says sorry to you and it's still forming kind of stubbornness, what will people say? What else do you want? If somebody says, I'm sorry. No, you can't tell me sorry. You can. Okay, what do you want? You want my head? Let me give it to you if you want sorry. So you will find that anyone who finds it difficult to say sorry, or anyone who finds it difficult to accept sorry, it will be very miserable. So how do we communicate? What do you say to your wife? Let no unwholesome, let me read that again in Amplified Bible. And if you're carrying a version that says something different, let us hear it so that you know. Do not let unwholesome. And this man puts it very well. Amplified version says that try to interpret unwholesome and put it in parentheses. Listen. Unwholesome can mean foul, profane, worthless, vulgar words. That's in Amplified. Foul language. You just talk. You just profane, worthless, has no value at all, has no basis. Said we should avoid it. And that is what I think that we need to work on as husbands and as wives. But the truth is this: the only person that helps you just this week, I was reading about one of the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. And as I was interpreting, I said there is no self-control without controlling yourself. Self-control, it is no self-control if you cannot control yourself. If you just hear self-control, what is it? That is controlling yourself, controlling your tongue, controlling your mind, controlling your actions, controlling. That is self-control. Self-control is to control yourself. And when you talk about controlling yourself, it starts with your tongue. Ask yourself, will this word build, because it says it has to give grace to those who hear it. Will this word build my wife? Or will it break her? Will this word build my husband? Or will it break my husband? Don't talk before you think. Think before you talk. Don't talk because you are a man. Don't talk because you're a woman. Talk because you are God's creation. You are God's image that needs to represent God in your talk. To the point that if you bring those words before a judge, you will either be justified or be condemned. And that's what the Bible says yesterday when we read that. By your word in Matthew, by your word you shall be judged, or be justified, or you shall be condemned. So if we bring the two of you and say, this is what my wife said to me, this is what my husband said to me, ask yourself, will I be justified by all I say to my wife? If not, rephrase it. I tell my children, that there are several ways you can put a statement. There are several ways you can arrange a word. You understand what I'm saying? If you have a statement to say, you can rearrange it and it will mean something. I wish I can lay my hands on something very quickly. Okay? There are many ways you can say, well, don't just open your mouth and say it and believe that it will be understood from your own point of view. You have to say it knowing that it can be dissected and can be misunderstood. And that this word that I'm about to say, how will my husband take it? How will he understand it? Or how will my friend understand it? Will he understand it from my point of view? Or from the point of view of that statement? Amen. Did you get that correctly? There are several ways to put a word, a statement. Not just one way. So, now, last week, let me just go over some interesting part of this question. And then, very quickly, we just have 2 questions. And then, on awesome talk, how do you talk to your husband? How do you talk to your wife? What are the things that a husband can say to his wife and can affect her, can break her? Amen. So start to think about that. Now, we asked, what qualities did you see in your spouse that made you agree? One husband said that because of her good quality as a wife, and she's a good Christian. She said she's a good Christian. So he married her because she's a good Christian. And then, so we asked, what are the values that were present to your spouse that are no longer present? There may be some things you saw that attracted you to your wife or to your husband. Now, during the course of your marriage, what disappeared? What are the things? And this person, the husband, said, nonchalant attitude. Meaning that she's nonchalant. Things don't matter to her. Okay? And I believe that whoever wrote this book probably have been mentioning it to the wife. You don't care about things. You are nonchalant. You need to pay attention to things. Amen. And that can be general. There can be 1 or 2, 3 women who may fall into that category. So if your husband saying that you don't care about these things, you need to pay attention to these things. Okay? What would you love to see your spouse that will rekindle your love? He says, I want her to love me at all times. Yeah. I want her to love me at all times. Then the husband, he said, what are the things that your spouse does that makes you happy? He says, she occasionally surprises me. So, in my marriage, we don't surprise ourselves. We don't. It's just what my wife says that. It's what we grew up with. Because I don't see the need to surprise. The only time I ever surprised her was because I knew she never had any birthday. So when she was 35, I believe something years ago, I thought I was going to somebody's party. I wish I could show those pictures. I thought I was going to somebody's party, and I organized somewhere on Cleveland Avenue here, and then everybody was there. So we got to that party, and the MC started talking, and as soon as we came in, I brought in a sister from Texas, who we have not seen in many years, like 20 years. I told her she has to come, so she flew down, and then, so when they announced the celebrant, it was her. She was completely blown up. That was the surprise I ever gave, and it was a very pleasant one. When she turned 40, she told me, if you do any surprise, you really want to attend it though. If you do anything surprising, you really want to be that, because I will know you're not surprise me. So maybe she doesn't really like surprise. Now, so you need to understand your marriage. Many wives say they like surprise. You like surprise? Raise your hand. As a wife, you see. Like surprise. Everybody likes surprises. Oh wow! Everybody loves surprises. Wow. So understand your wife. If you like surprise, look, surprises can rekindle your marriage. Amen. It can. Just surprise her, with things that she will really love. So, and then I said, how would you rate your communication? He said, excellent. The husband said, it's excellent. It's good, very good. So, I said, what are the 3 things on your spouse's priority list? He said, honesty. God, he wants to be honest. She always wants to fear God, and she's committed. And that's also very brilliant. Now, another person, I picked a few. I said, what qualities did you see in your spouse that made you agree to marry? And this person did not circle whether it was husband or wife. So, well, caring and a great listener. And then what are the values that were present in your spouse that are no longer present? He said, unable to control anger. What do you love to see your spouse that will rekindle your love? So, well, I would love him to encourage me when I take a step rather than channeling it to his home. Okay, so this must be wife. Now, what are the things that a spouse does make you happy? Always cooking, always looking out for me. And she has great empathy. Okay, what are the things your spouse does that make you sad? Putting blame on me when things go wrong. Don't blame your husband for, don't blame your husband. Try to encourage him. Encourage your husband. You know why? Each of us are all bound to fail. You're bound to fail. And when you fail, it is just another way for you to know, maybe 2 times failure, 3 times. It's just another 3 ways to know how to do things better. So rather than condemn your husband or condemn your wife, encourage him. Encourage and say, well, we can do it again. We can find another, we can try again. So what is the one thing you can change about yourself that you think will improve your marriage? It says, my bluntness. Well, if you are too blunt, try and subpedal. Please. It's good to be blunt, and don't be too conservative. Sometimes you can compromise. That's what you call understanding. Let's put stuff on the table, and things we can. What are the 3 things on your spouse's list? The welfare of the kids. If the welfare of the kids is more important than the welfare of the husband, it is not too good though. Take care of your husband, because one day those kids will go and marry. And then you will become young couples again. So how you will have to come back and pick up your husband may be difficult. So care for your husband and care for your children at the same time. Why? Because women multitask most. They multitask most. More than men, I can tell you that. If you read Proverbs 31, you will see over 19 things that a woman can do, but only one thing that a man does. And I don't want to read it. Otherwise, some men will be angry with me today. They should go and read Proverbs if they want to know. So let's pay attention to what we need to pay attention to in the house. What are the major issues that cause arguments? Guess what? Finance. Number 1, right? Number 1. Okay. So, again, one of the things you can also do is to understand ourselves when it comes to finance. If your husband wants a separate account, do it. If your wife wants a separate account, do it. Let's go ahead and do it. But if you can both manage the same account, then let us resolve it and see how we can do that. It may not be profitable eventually, but then, even when we have tried and it is not working out, we can also come back to reevaluate. Amen. Okay, let me take questions. Any take questions? Does anybody have any question? Okay, microphone, please take. And I'll be here with my wife alone today to.
Praise the Lord.
Press the button next to your hand.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
The question I want to ask is like, I want to make some illustration so that you will understand me better. A situation like maybe in the house, I try to do a lot of things. Maybe, for example, clean the house, arrange it and do a lot of stuff. And then it's like, my husband will always say, wait, like, if you do the things you are supposed to do, take extra pains doing some stuff, he won't really talk about it. But like maybe when he's coming back, he saw a pair of shoes here, bag here, clothes there. From the door, he will start talking. So, and I will ask him, and that apply even when you cook a delicious food. My husband, you know the way you know that he enjoy it is the way he eats it. But let it be the other way. As he open it and pick a distance, he will drop this. But when you do it very nice, or maybe put this in, he will say, when you start praising a woman, the head will get swollen. So, but when you do bad, the other way around, he will talk about it instead of also keeping quiet. In a situation like that, what do you want to?
That is a very big question. That's a very big question. When your husband praises you doing something good, and then when you make mistakes, he dwells on it. Well, when it comes to you and your husband, you have to talk about it. Don't pretend as if you are fine with his reactions all the time. And don't end up bearing the brunt, like keeping quiet and burning within you and suffering in silence. Mention it to him and let him know that when I do good, I see you react good about it. But when anything is bad, you condemn and then you talk about it. One of the things that came across here is the fact that the wife said, my husband nags all the time. They are quick to bring out faults, bring out faults. I think that in a very good home, what should happen is, look, your wife can offend you many times. Because Peter said, how many times should your friend offend you or your enemy offends you? How many times? And Jesus says 70 times 7. Okay, if you multiply that, in one day. And that becomes uncountable. The moment you become a recorder of offenses, that you have to count, this is your third time, this is your seventh time, this is your 20th time, then you need deliverance. You need deliverance, serious deliverance. So one of the reasons why we're doing this is for us to pay attention to things that are, for instance, a wife also mentioned the fact that my husband pays too much attention to the little stuffs. That is horrible. That can be so weird. That every little stuff, you sweat over it. You are a troublemaker. Your name should be a troublemaker. If every little stuff, you sweat over it. There are some things that you should render significant. Just ask many people who have had peace in their home. It is because they have decided not to pay attention to many things. It does not mean that things will keep decaying or going back. But by the time you evaluate it and you look at what essence, what disadvantage, what negative effect will this have in this hour? If you can't find any, forget it. We were talking about how do you as a citizen of America or as a resident of America, when do you defend yourself? When? Paul got to a point that he had to defend himself and said that I'm a Roman citizen. But that was when his life was involved. That's what he thought. But when there was no life involved, he let it pass. So you should understand what is important, what is not important. But if you pay attention to what is less important, then you are going to create an unsettled home where it is always argument upon argument. Amen. But the point here is that please talk about it. Bring your husband's attention to it. Bring your wife's attention to it. But when you are doing that, do it in love. Okay? Do that in love. Study his mood, study the time. And it goes both ways. You want to talk to your wife about something, don't tell her when she's moody or when she's in, one serious situation that she cannot even accommodate any other thing. Study her, know when, that mood, when you can talk to her about, I noticed some things. And she can go, oh, okay. So, I don't know, my wife, do you have anything to say about that? Microphone. Give me one.
I think it has been well said that that should be discussed. And then one other way that I feel that such situations can be well managed is to use humor in that situation. Turn it to a joke. So when he starts talking about the bag and stuff like that, turn it to a joke and say, sometimes this is what I say, my husband is particular when you are cooking in the kitchen. He doesn't like water to be dripping on the floor. So as you are cooking or you are washing and there's water on the floor, you say, there's water. You know what I say? I say, go and get the rag and come and clean it.
I clean it.
I say, go and get the rag and come and clean it. And I say it in a joking manner. I say, oh, Mr. Man, I will not answer you. Go and get the rag and come and clean it. Because I know that I'm busy right now, I'm not going to be mopping the floor at the same time. So when you like, there's water. When you put water, the floor will be dirty. That one is not even one of my business anymore. No, I don't even allow you to get under my skin at all. So the thing is that find a very humorous way to respond to it. Find a humorous way that if too you know that is too harsh about that situation. Find, for example, if it's about the food, just tell him, Papa, 3 days ago when I made the egusi soup, I saw you licking the plate. This time, I don't know why your face is like this. So just find, because humor is very essential in the home. You must find ways to laugh about issues. When you can laugh about things, it will cushion the harshness.
Somebody sent a question and said, when is divorce an option? When is divorce an option? And the second question is it okay for for a woman to ask a man out for a date? Well, that context, I don't understand it. Is it a fresh man or your husband? So if you're asking a man out for a date, we'll approach it both ways. Is it okay to, for a new date, you find out that you like this man and you want to ask him out for a date? Sister Conserving. Okay, let's throw that to the floor. Can somebody say something about that? Is it okay? Let the man talk. No, a man should talk. Let's see if a man will. Because it's addressed to a man. Is it okay for a woman to ask you out on a date if you were just for fresh? Because we know that question will not relate to marriage because it's normal. You can tell your husband, let's go out of bed, we need to go eat out today, or can we eat out next week? So that shouldn't be a problem, right? So we're talking about a fresh one. Okay, what do you think, brother?
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
As an individual, I strongly and even perfectly believe in a woman asking a man out.
Okay.
I
don't think there's any problem with you.
And I have it's really very unfortunate.
Okay.
Without any prejudice to the blacks.
Okay.
I say that is not cultural.
Yeah.
And for that reason, quite a number of us of our women, inside of them, they die inside of them, inside them, instead of them to come out of their shell and actually, make it open. They are not going to die, they are not going to.
Yeah.
But really, we have to put it in quotes, in again, we have to put it in quotes again.
Okay.
I'm not going to blame them for not doing that, and the reason is very simple. Some of our men will eventually, capitalize on that and do them. But I'm actually talking of somebody that is Zen. When I say Zen, I'm talking about somebody that is, that knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
Because it's always better, right, for a woman to love you as a man. I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend now.
Okay.
I'm talking about a man and a woman that want to get married, and you love somebody and you want to go for that person. I've seen almost about 2 or 3 cases of that here in America where I was working before. A lady could not go to him, but told somebody, and the person went to him and told him. And the lady even went to the extent of buying a car. Yes, for him. But while the lady is actually buying all those funds, the love is somewhere else. He will always go somewhere and all that. But I am talking about responsible people. But the unfortunate thing is you cannot have how would I put it, a reasonable or perfect situation or something. I'm talking about somebody that want to marry, that is ready to